Hello, welcome to AEC Unplugged. I'm your host, Danielle Gray. We are having quite the day. I'm having quite the day. We just were having some fun Zoom calls just now. So, all that being said, thanks for being here. I am Danielle Gray, the Director of Content and Knowledge Resources here at SMPS HQ. And if you are wherever you're joining, let us know where you are tuning in from today. I like to know. I'm in Atlanta, and so it is kind of rainy here. So I'm looking forward to some sunshine in this episode, please and thank you. If this is your first time joining or hearing about AEC Unplugged, this is season 2. Episode 7. So there's a lot of content that you can go back and watch, and you can do that through YouTube, which is our SMPS HQ account. So please go back through there. There is a playlist available for the AEC Unplugged episodes. And usually, again, we keep these nice and small, usually around 30 minutes to really get get the content going. But we know you have a lot of things to do. And so we're just keeping it micro content here. I also want to talk about the back end of this too, which is the reason why we're doing this. A lot of times we meet our thought leaders right before, they're going to give a presentation that's in person or a webinar. And so what this is really intended to do, AEC Unplugged, is really to get to know the person. Obviously, the trends, the insight, the tips, the tricks, all of the different things as well. But it's really to get to know the person. So that's really why we're here. And so if you are enjoying AEC Unplugged, this has been absolutely a labor of love to make sure that we're giving the SMPS audience, our members, but also those that are interested in SMPS and the AEC industry overall. We just want to give you this as a resource to learn more and to be updated on the programming and all the things. So we've got people from Kansas City, Charlotte. Thank you for tuning in, Michigan. So keep that coming in, and we appreciate you joining us live. Now, there's a couple of things. Last week, we actually had the Pinnacle experience, which was here in my hometown, Atlanta, Georgia. It was amazing. So if you were at Pinnacle Experience and you're joining live, let me know that you were there. It was, the insights, the conversations, the networking was invaluable. It was amazing. So thank you to all the speakers that joined. And I mean, it was amazing. I can't really speak much. I can't speak enough to it. But what I did get from it, which I want to kind of give some different insights, was this idea of, as we're doing our meetings and starting our meetings, is this idea of rose, bud, thorn, which is asking people what their rose are, what they're excited about. Bud is what they're looking forward to, and thorn may be some challenge that they're having. So I thought that was a really cool way to start a meeting. So I just wanted to share that as we get started. And then let's see, we also have SMPS Insights, our new blog. If you're interested in learning more, just again, more micro content, I'm behind a lot of these content things, and we just want to continually create value for you. So if you are interested in guest blogging, we would love that. Also, if there's anything that you'd like us to touch on here on the episodes, or also SMPS Insights, we are open and willing to hear from you. Okay, let's see. There's a couple of webinars that are coming up as well. We have an exclusive CPSM learning series beginning November 20th. So that is next week. Quickly followed by the Foundations of AI and AEC Marketing, which we are going to be speaking to that presenter today. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our guest today, which is Liza Hall, MBA, and also a CPSM. She is an AI education specialist. Welcome, Liza, to AEC Unplugged.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I appreciate being here. So honored.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a part of our reindeer games here at AEC Unplugged. It's really about getting to know you and connecting, but
Mhm.
also just, getting some of the nuggets and information from you and what you've experienced. So I always like to start the same way, which is I think it is continually the most interesting conversation, which is how did you get into the AEC industry? Were you dreaming about this as a young girl? How did you make it here?
No, it was definitely not on my bingo card.
Mhm.
So we're gonna go roll back. It's so interesting because it's Throwback Thursday.
Oh yes,
So
it is. It is.
so we're going about 20 years back,
Uh-huh.
and I was in a really unfulfilled role as a marketer doing direct mail catalogs for a now defunct office retail direct mail company. And I decided to do a complete 180. And I told a friend, I'm just going to move out of this kind of consumer marketing side and take a temp job. I ended up taking a temporary assignment at an architecture firm in Newport Beach, California.
Okay.
And my role was word processor. So I was basically a typist. I
Mhm.
had I had my marketing degree. I was completely, I didn't know anything
Mhm.
about the AEC industry. It was like a foreign language to me. And that was the challenge. It got me hooked. And from there, I was working with the director of specifications. I was looking at his edits, his red lines, and I was also transcribing punch lists for the construction administration team. So it was quite a interesting, you know, the talk, the
Mhm.
conversations, hearing from the technical staff, like what's going on, and ultimately it got me thinking about what the AEC industries, these firms, these people, these technical and administrative individuals, what they do to ensure that end users occupy a space or they get to experience the environment, the outdoors, or to be able to get from one place to the other to go to a venue. It's so it just was really something that I couldn't stop from just leaving the industry altogether. So from that administrative position, I ended up getting my MBA a couple years later, and then moving to different roles within business development, marketing proposals, and from small firms to large firms as well. So it I definitely found it a very enriching and inspiring experience. And to this day, it just continues to evolve.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, that a temp job, and it's 20 years later, and it is not. It did not end up being temp at all. I thought that there's something you said that was really interesting, which was about how, I think sometimes as marketers or even as growth professionals, we don't think about the bigness of what we're doing. That these
Mhm,
are these are spaces that people are occupying, that these are making, really impacting people's lives. And so I
mhm.
think that's an important piece to always keep,
Yeah.
in mind as we're doing this. So I want to go to the next question, about our first interaction, because I thought it was so interesting. You reached out and said, you know what, I'm interested in doing some, to talk about AI, and we've done the AI conferences. There's
Mhm,
all this discussion about AI. And so, I was like, okay, let's talk about it, because, I don't want to, there's so much of it that you don't want to continue having the same conversations. But I thought it was so interesting because you are an AEC marketer, right? Like this, you are who our audience, who our members are, that same perspective. So can you share how you got into AI, especially telling,
Mhm.
like, you were an AEC marketer, how you made it into this, and why you're
Yeah.
interested in AI altogether?
Yeah. So before, I was just like super high level on AI, more on the intuitive side. So before the pandemic, or right in the middle of the pandemic, I was just using the AI tool Grammarly,
Mhm.
when everything was kind of shut down, and I was doing some consulting work. And it's still a great tool, to this day. So I, had just been using it more on content, in trying to be more cognizant of how I was writing,
Mhm.
under like proposals and quals and just even social media stuff. And then about 2 years ago, I just went through a webinar, for Midjourney, and so the individual who was really steamed, she was an architect by trade, and she got into the creative side of AI and discussed about Midjourney, but it got a little too heavy, because of what the possibilities were and what she was prompting. And I actually, after that, I took a break for about a year and a half, because
Yeah.
it was just a little too much too soon. And then earlier this year, I saw an article, and it was through another association, about human resources and the use of AI, whether it was for recruiting or ensuring that there was no bias, but also that AI being used, not only in just an HR role, but also for marketing. So it was almost coming like, wow, this has become like holistic, in that
Mhm.
other, departments can be involved in the process utilizing AI. And that's when I said, okay, it's time. So that was January of this year. And from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to start taking my coursework. So I needed to get my foundational understanding, through Wharton. And so that was like for about 3 months. And then from there, I took two specialization courses through Vanderbilt. And that was on prompting and understanding, the approach to the prompt and the context of like your role. And yeah, there was still a lot of times where I'm like, how, I mean, even though that there were exercises
Yeah.
that they gave, you're still thinking about like, well, how am I supposed to put it together?
Right.
And you don't want to overthink, but it does take time to just practice and get a feel, and start and really simplify, when you're in generative AI for sure.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's so interesting because I remember this conversation of, there's so many things, but it's nice when someone that has a similar lens as you is
Yeah.
looking at this, and that can we can really say, okay, all of this is great. Now, as an AEC marketer, let me tell you how I'm using it. And I thought that
Mhm.
from that perspective, I was like, "Oh, we need a webinar on this. This is
Yeah.
absolutely something that I think our audience and our members really need to hear about." And by the way, if you're a member, you are absolutely obviously you can watch the webinars, but we also have
Mhm.
it for non-members. So you do not have to be a member to join this webinar. So just FYI, I think that it's really for everybody. So
Mhm.
that leads me to why do you think it's important for AEC marketers to understand and use AI as an AEC marketer yourself?
Yeah, so AI is like everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in our daily lives. You see it pop up in, emails, you get the notification, text messages, the reminders, and that from personal life, it spills over into work life.
Hmm.
And this is our moment to actually start to do the trial and error, because in this industry, this is a very niche space. It's as marketers, there's a lot to know and learn from working with technical professionals who this is their bread and butter, and we're trying to understand and give context to putting our proposals, to speaking with potential clients, to our team members. And so AI is this is the time to delve into what do I do at work that is troubling me, that's a pain point. Like you just mentioned, over at Pinnacle, there was the rosebuds,
Mhm.
what's, the cheers and the jeers, the thorn. What's, you know, aching your back? What's that thorn on your side that's preventing you to become more a strategic marketer in bringing value to your team, um, you know, to your bosses and to the firm. And so this is really the chance you have to where this is where the domains of practice come into play,
Mhm.
where you have this opportunity of I'm an expert in doing these items. How how can I take this and put it into a prompt, into generative AI, and how and be open um, to the output that you receive.
Right. And so that actually leads me to the next question, which is, don't give it all away, all the sauce of what you're going to be presenting, but what
Mhm,
are some ways that you've seen AI being used? Obviously, you hear so much about content, right? The
mhm.
blog writing and those types of things. What are some ways that AEC marketers can use, or how you're using it, that may be a little outside of what maybe people are thinking
Mhm.
or that they traditionally use it for?
Yeah, one of the things that what AI does, it actually makes you more collaborative
Mm,
because you can't. One of the big things about using AI tools is you have to get it validated in some capacity. You can't just be silo.
hmm.
So that's the really great thing, is that it gets people talking in, between departments,
I can see that.
um, because it's actually engaging you to like what are these problems that we're having. So that's as AEC marketers, our roles are like evolving
Mhm,
because HR is involved, operations is involved, finance is involved. I mean, it's it's crazy to think, but it's true. Our roles are really um, it's just a different time. This technology is giving us the opportunity to explore
mhm.
that where we never did. I mean, just telling you what I did 20 years ago, it's obsolete because everybody does some aspect of it. Now, if you think about it, like AI, recently, just this morning, OpenAI had mentioned about like um, they're going to have their agent um, uh, AI be able to take over your computer. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of crazy, and one of the comments that I saw on LinkedIn was, well, what is it going to do to the, airline industry? And so, on a consumer scale, we take it into like, well, how can AI transform our business? And what do we see as things that are not making us efficient? What's bogging us down in productivity? So it's really the conversation now, because I don't know what's going to happen in 2025.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's really the moment for marketers to uh, take the next step right
Well,
now.
yeah, and I thought, because we did touch on AI while we were at the Pinnacle experience, and a lot of it was about, you know, what one thing that it will never change is the processing, the imagination of a human, the problem solving, all of those things. But there's a lot of things that we do during our day
Mhm.
that it can help us save time on. Organizing and just those tasks that it can possibly do faster. So I I support it, and I'm a big human. I say HI
Mhm.
because human intelligence is so important too. But
Mhm.
it's important for us to understand how it all plays together. So, like I talked about before, you're leading a webinar next week on November
Mhm.
21st called "The Foundations of AI and AEC Marketing: Enhancing Market Research and Planning." Did you guys
Yeah.
hear that? I hope you did. Um, what can people expect in this session, and who should be there? What should they be looking forward to?
Yeah. I think everybody should attend,
Yes.
because um, really, if somebody was to say like, I don't even know where to start, um, start on this webinar, because it's the foundational, taking the foundational understanding, and taking in the context of what we do, as being a CPSM, the our foundational understanding of those domains of practice, and saying, here's the traditional way, and now let's take it to the next dimension with, next Thursday is on domain 1 and 2. But it's also going to help you like think a little bit outside more of the box. And I think that's what that's the goal, is
Hmm.
to enable professionals to feel like I'm empowered, that I have put something in that I have thought about, and look what it has generated, and it's a first draft. That's
Right.
what I love about using generative AI. It's not the final, because it's got to go through, channels of buy-in.
Hmm.
And so it's a great starting point. And one of the creative things that happened recently was, it puts you outside of it really challenges, areas that you didn't have um, capability of. And
Hmm.
one thing that happened last night is, I didn't think about, like, I'm helping my husband put together a script for a for a building material.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and I had to be really honest and tell him, like, I don't know anything about this. You know it. You're the technical individual who's doing this marketing
Hmm.
effort. And so it's like tables turned, where I'm trying to understand and being an audience member at the same time. He's trying to market um, a, an item, and
Hmm.
so people bringing knowledge and understanding. So me trying to figure out, like, how do I even figure out the script?
Right.
Like, okay, what's the scene, what's the and it was like, but this is not like my day to day. But it really encourages marketers to step beyond what they normally do on a daily
Right. Right.
basis. It's that challenge, and that just that little push to just go, because that's that's where you go, okay, I have a concept here, and that I didn't even know.
Hmm.
And now it's 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 this product. It's
Right.
deliverable, and so it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that, to your point, beyond what you're producing, I think it really brings value. As a
Mhm.
marketer, you can bring that to the team and say, you know what, this is usually where I live and work, but if AI can expand in that and you can bring value to your leadership, to your team, that's really what we want. And the idea of the domains of practice. So for those that are familiar, we have these domains of practice specifically, for those that are, well, for everyone, but CPSM is a way to get certified. And so I thought that as we kind of worked and collaborated on this, the idea of going through the domains of practice. So there will be more. This is not the one and only foundations of AI and AEC marketing. This is just the beginning, where we're going to be talking about the and we're Liza's going to be talking about the domains 1 and 2, which I think really allow us as AEC marketers, business developers, and growth leaders to kind of put these in buckets to understand how we
Mhm.
can use them in different ways. So
Right.
this is great. I'm gonna close with the my final question for today, which is, what are some words of wisdom that you would like to share with AEC growth professionals watching? What would you like to leave them with?
It would be to empower your team
Hmm.
and don't fear AI, embrace it, communicate, and see where it takes you. Don't be discouraged. We're all in this because this is a community, and
Hmm.
we need each other to don't do it alone because it's a very powerful tool to use, and have the conversations, and be open minded to it.
Thank you so much, Liza, for
Mhm.
joining AEC Unplugged. It has been a pleasure. So thank you. And thank you all for watching. I think, something that I take from this, and I think that is so important, is that AI is just such a big conversation. And the more that we can really personalize it and customize it to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is ideal, and that's really what I think the magic of this session is. There's so many different ways to come about it, but we have specifically, and Liza is pulling together this presentation so that we can understand for us how this will impact us. She's done the learning, she's gone through all the different things. So look, you don't even have to do it. You just join the session so you can catch up and join her there. So that is November 21st. Again, that's next week. The Foundations of AI and AEC Marketing, Enhancing Market Research and Planning. It's going to be quite the session. Highly encourage you to join in. And if you can't join live, that's okay. It will be recorded and on demand. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining. And of course, my dog is really excited about me finishing up. So, what I'll say is make sure to register for Amplify AEC Columbus. It is going to be August 6th through 8th. The launch rate is available and it will end November 30th. So, this is the lowest. This is real life. This is the lowest price you will ever get it for now. So I'm gonna finish because I clearly my dog wants me to be done here. Thank you so much for joining AEC Unplugged, and we will see you next time. And my dog Duchess says goodbye. Thank you all. Bye.